Oh my god. Sheryl Swoopes. Sheryl Swoopes gave her opinion on the whole Caitlin Clark Time magazine situation. And I heard like snippets of it all. And this title, the thumbnail is going to be a snippet of it all. And at the end of the day, like, you can have whatever opinion you want. And what Sheryl Swoopes has failed miserably at is refusing to look at the big picture and diminishing everything that one Caitlin Clark has done. Just because realistically, she's not a fan of Caitlin Clark. But at least there's so, like, this is the best thing Swoopes ever said. Look, we're never going to get Sheryl Swoopes say a positive thing about Caitlin Clark. This is the next best thing. Before we get on to that, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are trying to hit 40,050 subscribers by the end of the day. We are 16 subscribers off. We're trying to hit 40k by Christmas. 40k is an unbelievable number. Thank you guys so much for the support. It is incredible. 40,000 subscribers, 25 million views on a women's basketball channel in 6 months. Is absolutely incredible. And I'm not an AI video channel lying about Caitlin Clark going to Europe. There's a little bit of clickbait, but that happens on YouTube. We're not lying about Caitlin Clark's European contract or Angel Reese being suspended for whatever reason. But anyway, we gotta take a look at this. So it's a long video, long video, and the start is really where she was on Gil's Arena, but the start is really where Sheryl Swoopes talked.
Caitlin Clark has been named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year.
A little bit fast. I got 1.5 times speed. I got 1.25 times speed. It's just, screw it. Let's just go normal speed. Let's go normal speed. Let's drag this video out.
Year. So the award, which has been distributed since 2019, Clark becomes the first WNBA player to ever win this award. We see the album cover, or excuse me, the magazine cover. I'm her fucking up.
But the fact that that's the I don't think I'm surprised. I'm curious to know who the other candidates were, but the fact that that's the very first WNBA player to ever win Time Magazine Athlete of the Year is pretty special.
Finally, like, I don't even care. I don't even care if there's like a subtle jab, like, oh, I kind of need to know who everyone else is. I don't even care. I think you can make an argument that, yeah, there should have been, that there are other athletes that have made as big an impact as Caitlin Clark. That is a completely fine argument to make. I don't even care. Like, the reality is that she said later on in it that, you know, why couldn't it have, basically something like, why couldn't it have been A'ja Wilson? But she just listed off A'ja Wilson as someone who could have got the award, not arguing that it should have been A'ja Wilson or anything. But, like, I don't hate this. I don't care. Like, I don't care. I don't even actually care if what Sheryl Swoopes' opinion is. Like, I don't care. You have to just be somewhat impartial, and that's, at least, she is finally, like, she talks a little bit more about how much, how it's great to see a WNBA player. It's great that, like Gilbert Arenas was basically talking about how, you know, what Caitlin Clark's getting, it means all the other WNBA players now have more leverage and everything about the league and how this is going to be so good for the league long term. And Sheryl Swoopes agreeing with it. She's agreeing with it. And even though she probably thinks A'ja Wilson was more deserving, I don't really care. I don't think anyone should really care. At the end of the day, like, it was the refusal to admit that Caitlin Clark was, one, a good player, and the refusal to admit that, like, Caitlin Clark had an impact, refusal to admit that what Caitlin Clark was doing was good for the WNBA, refusal to admit what she was doing was great, and now at least, there is a acknowledgement that the Caitlin Clark effect is good for everybody. At least there's that acknowledgement. Like, is it a step, like, is it the full acknowledgement? Probably not, but I don't really care. I don't think anyone really cares that much. There are people that are going to hate Sheryl Swoopes regardless of what she says, and there are people in life that are going to hate someone whose opinion is different than theirs. I stand by the fact that I think what Sheryl Swoopes a lot of the time was arguing in bad faith. I think she was so focused on her own legacy that when Caitlin Clark broke one of her records, despite having like less points per game, she kind of like diminished tried to diminish the record instead of congratulating her, and then made up all the 25 years old, made up about 5 different lies about her, and then at the end of the show, like only like corrected herself by apologizing to Caitlin Clark about one of the lies, not all 4 of them, and then refusing to speak about her, saying she was an equivalent of implying she was an equivalent of Katie Lou Samuelson, refusing to speak about her, like all of this stuff. I genuinely think that, like with Sheryl Swoopes, it was just out of stubbornness. It was just out of stubbornness. Like, it's like if you've ever seen the Trendy Hoop Stars page, and no matter what happens, they just will not talk about Caitlin Clark. Or they will make sure to put certain stats up that, like, so Caitlin Clark will not be mentioned in them. Like, I can't remember what it was. It was like all these young players, and it was like best 3-point shooter, and they had of all young players in women's basketball, the best 3-point shooter was Tahina Paopao, and the best passer was like Olivia Miles, and I'm like, come on. It was funny. But like Sheryl Swoopes almost went to that, and now at least there's some acknowledgement that at least the Caitlin Clark effect is good. Sheryl Swoopes doesn't have to be a fan of Caitlin Clark as a player at the end of the day. You don't have to be a fan of someone as a player. Like, Skip Bayless made a career hating LeBron James. There are YouTube channels here that will make a career hating somebody. And ironically enough, like, I don't know why I'm considered a Angel Reese hater. I think Angel Reese is really good. And I'll say it all the time, but I get lumped in. With a bunch of channels that I don't really, like, at the end of the day, I don't watch any other basketball channels. I just rant about the sport. If I was watching basketball channels after how much I talked about basketball, I would lose my mind. So I just give my opinions on it. But I obviously get lumped in with a bunch of other people. And the reality is that everyone is entitled to their own opinion on sports. But when you are, I will say, like, when you are making arguments in bad faith, which I felt like Sheryl Swoopes did for a while, then there are issues with it. And at least, thankfully, it seems like it's less in bad faith right now. After she'll at least, even if she believes A'ja Wilson should be the award winner, A'ja Wilson had a fantastic season. I don't really care. If that is your opinion, that is completely fine. A'ja Wilson had one of the best seasons. Should she have been unanimous MVP? In my opinion, no. I think it's hard. I think it should be hard to win unanimous MVP when your team wins like 9 games less than the previous year in a 40-game season. But she still put up the record in points. She broke the record in rebounds. And look, it was without question. Like, I'm not going to argue with the MVP. I'm just, my issue with the A'ja Wilson thing was from game 1, if you did not say she was going to be unanimous MVP, the WNBA old guard attacked you. Like, Rebecca Lobo got attacked at the All-Star break for questioning whether or not, for saying A'ja Wilson, who looks like she could win it unanimously this year. But because she said she could win it unanimously, Rebecca Lobo got attacked. But, like, that's the thing, where at least if we're seeing Sheryl Swoopes even acknowledge that, you know, maybe something Caitlin Clark is doing is good for the WNBA, it is a positive. And look, I think at the end of the day, people are going to expect this to be like a rant video about Sheryl Swoopes, and it's just not. It's just not. Sheryl Swoopes is not going to ever be a fan of Caitlin Clark. She's not going to be. Because Sheryl Swoopes is one of those pro players that if anyone could directly affect their own legacy in a negative way, as in being one of the best guards in WNBA history, and they've gotten to a spot maybe in a different way. Like, Sheryl Swoopes was obviously seen as one of the GOATs. She broke some of Sheryl Swoopes' records, and she's already got a higher career high than her in the WNBA. And when it's all said and done, there won't be a talk of Sheryl Swoopes in the GOAT conversation anymore, likely because the GOAT guard will be Caitlin Clark. I don't think there's going to be a real argument there won't be Caitlin Clark in a couple of years. And maybe she has an issue with that. But at the end of the day, regardless of whether or not she likes Caitlin Clark or not, which I don't think she ever will, I don't think she dislikes as a person. I think just the whole idea of Caitlin Clark she dislikes. At least there is now a willingness to admit there are some positives and some good things for the league surrounding Caitlin Clark. And hopefully this means that she will at least be able to talk about the basketball side of it from a somewhat objective standpoint. It's like, because the last thing Sheryl Swoopes wants is to be the Skip Bayless. Like, if you want to be someone's Skip Bayless, you got to know you're going to be someone's Skip Bayless. Like, Skip Bayless's whole MO was to be the LeBron hater. Like, Skip Bayless prepped for his shows, not like how a sports person would prep to talk about sports. He prepped for it like a debater would prep for debate. He literally would prep based on what answers he thought his opponent would give, and then how to debate that topic. He was a debater. And I don't think Sheryl Swoopes is a good enough debater to beat a Skip Bayless. And I don't think she's a funny enough troll. I think there's Skip Bayless sometimes gets heel heat. Swoopes was getting go away heat during the summer. But hopefully. Touch wood, this is the end of the Sheryl Swoopes, Caitlin Clark fiasco. Probably won't be, but hopefully it is.